Hi friends! I set a goal for myself at the end of 2017 that in 2018 I was going to release a new single every month in the year. So 12 different songs total. And it was a very ambitious goal. There were moments where I did not think that it was going to happen, but ultimately I did it. I released 12 new songs this year, and I just wanted to sit down and kind of tell you guys more about the songs because I feel like they were released in such rapid succession. I didn't get much of a chance to like delve deep into any of them. So I figured I'd take the opportunity to do kind of an end of the year recap and talk about all of the new music that came out this year.
My heart is a runaway train.
Runaway Train was my first single that I released for 2018. Originally it was going to be on the What You Need EP last year, which was actually going to be titled Runaway Train, but I ended up writing Don't Think Just Run kind of at the very last minute when we were working on that EP, and it just fit more with the other songs I thought than Runaway Train did. So we bumped that one, but I knew I still wanted to put it out in the world. And Runaway Train is kind of this song from the perspective of somebody that gets left by their significant other, and this isn't the first time this type of thing has happened to them. They basically feel like it's out of their control, that they just can't help themselves, that they are so guided by their emotions that they just keep doing this over and over again, whether it's with the same person, a new person, but it always kind of has the same outcome. And I think it's probably something that anybody feels after a breakup, because you feel like, why do I keep doing this to myself? Until you actually find that right person. And the feel of the song, I decided to do just a piano vocal on this one. I didn't do a full studio production. And the main thing that I kind of wanted the feel for it to be was to actually feel like a train with the way the piano was. So hopefully that came across. And I don't think I would say I have a favorite lyric from that song. It was just kind of an overall like picture and snapshot of this like character's moment that I wanted to put out. So I don't know that I have a favorite lyric off of that one, I just liked the song and still wanted it to be released.
So if you're gonna leave, wherever you go, please take me.
February was my first book-based song of the year. It was Please Take Me, based on A Court of Thorns and Roses series by Sarah J. Maas. And it's from the perspective of Farrah and Rhysand's relationship. If you haven't read the book, I won't go into any spoilers, but there's kind of this time period in there back and forth that like they know that they're attracted to each other and they know that they probably are going to end up together, but they're both just like so stubborn that they don't want to be the first one to admit it. So I just wanted to use that aspect when writing about these characters, just that kind of back and forth tension of will they, won't they. And this was the first time I had ever tried out doing a lyric video with a video component. I had done last year a music video for Monster, and the response was good, but it didn't do as well and it didn't seem to connect with people as much as my lyric videos. But I had also gotten to the point where I felt sometimes disconnected from my own music because the most popular thing about my music is the lyric videos, which, you know, up till this year have never included me. And so it almost felt like my music was separate than me, which is not the case. I am my music. So I wanted some kind of fusion between the two where I could have a lyric video but still be able to feel like I'm a part of it. I shot this video with a videographer named Brandon Vestal. It was the first time I had worked with him, but the guy that I record my music with, Daniel Dennis, it was somebody that he knows and has worked with. Just the nicest guy. Like, Brandon is so nice, and we met before we shot the video to talk about what I had in mind. And I had always had this vision of like wanting it to be very blue, because a lot of times I'll associate a specific color with a song, so I knew I wanted it to be like black and blue, and I wanted kind of almost like a twinkling light aspect to it. So I ended up, because we shot it in February, so I actually ended up going to Walmart and getting a couple of the like Christmas light projectors that had the color blue, and I think one that was white. And we set those up on the floor so that they projected, and it made it look kind of, you know, like stars and twinkling lights. So I couldn't have been happier with how it turned out. I thought it went so well. We shot it in this warehouse. The night that we shot it, because we did it at night because we wanted to make sure, because there were a lot of windows in the warehouse, that it didn't mess up the lighting. And it was so cold. It was so cold because it was like this huge room and it didn't really have any like that much heating. So yeah, I don't think you ever see my feet in the video, but I was wearing boots because I knew that my feet would get cold if I went barefoot. And I actually had to trust him because at one point he was like, I would love it if you could just kind of like dance around. And I was just like, I don't dance. I feel like this will go very, very badly. But he said, you know, just trust me, I'll do some cool stuff with slow-mo and make it look good. And I'm glad that he forced me out of my comfort zone to do that, because I do think I got some really cool shots out of it. A great experience, and you know, something that seems to have like worked with doing kind of the video and lyric video combination, and really happy I decided to go in that direction with the song. If I had to choose my favorite lyric from Please Take Me, I think it might be the opening one. We know all of each other's moves in this twisted dance we do. It just sets the tone for the song and for their dynamic of like, it's almost like a sparring match where you're countering and you know everything the other person's gonna do. Great series. If you have not read it, you should definitely check it out.
But I'm catching on, I'm finally done.
My March release was called Done. This is a song that is about finally like kicking somebody out of your life that you know that it's been time to kick them out of your life for a while. And I will neither confirm or deny that this is based on any particular real person. I mean, it's just kind of like the ultimate FU song. I wanted to specifically put a period at the end of the title, so done period, just to like have extra emphasis on that finality. But yeah, I mean, I don't know what there's really to say about this one other than, you know, I just wanted like a scathing, no holds barred song, and that's what we got. I would definitely say my favorite lyric from Done is the second part of the first verse, just because the moment that I wrote that, I was just like, oh, I went there. Oh my.
Say goodbye, you close the door.
April was Close the Door. This is another one I knew that I wanted to have it kind of stripped down, so just piano and vocal. I think we added a few strings in there. I should probably know the answer to that, shouldn't I? Close the Door is a song that I actually wrote probably 6 or 7 years ago and just never ended up doing anything with. The original idea behind the song was that it was going to be part of a bigger musical, because it's a dream of mine to write a musical, and I still haven't counted it out someday. And it's funny because I think you tend to write about what's going on in your own life. So I had just graduated college and didn't know what I was going to do and kind of who I was going to be, and wrote a couple snippets of this musical that reflected that, of like showing two characters and they've just come out of college and they move up to like New York City, and the girl is pursuing a career in like legal or business, and the guy wants to be an actor, and so they, you know, move up to New York City and are gonna follow their dream. And this song comes at the moment that they've both been let down and they feel like they've failed and they're kind of right at the brink of giving up. But of course you can't really, well, I guess you can absolutely have a musical with a sad ending, but this one was not going to have a sad ending. They were going to figure it out and give it another shot and whatever. But this song was originally like a duet between those two characters. And like I said, I just got busy with other projects and never really saw this concept through. But I still always really loved the song because I do think it's relatable, because I think everybody has those moments of feeling like, what am I gonna do with my life? And this song was really trying to capture that. I should have probably given it some kind of warning or context that it's like right before something good happens, because otherwise it's just this really depressing song. But it's still really special to me, and I definitely am not done with writing musical theater, but I at least wanted to put this out because I've held this song close for a long time now and wanted to share it with the world. I think my favorite lyrics from Close the Door, there's two, and there's one that's how do you reconcile what you feel with what you know? And then there's another line that's they told you not to mistake what you want for what you need. And I think I like those lyrics just because it can be hard sometimes to make the distinction, first of all, you know, between what basically head versus heart as far as the what you feel and what you know, and then want and need, you know, again, head versus heart. It kind of captures that internal struggle when logically your brain is telling you something but your heart's leading you in a different direction.
I'm still running hard first, but with eyes wide open.
May was another book-based song. This one was actually one that was commissioned by author Casey Bond, and it was for her book Glamour of Midnight. Casey does a lot of fairy tale retellings, which are awesome. She is somebody that I met at Utopia, a book conference in Nashville last summer. She contacted me, I guess towards the beginning of this year, asking about me doing a custom song for her book, which I love to do. So side note, if any authors want to talk to me about doing a commission song, my email address is in the description. I am taking commissions for 2019, so if you are interested, contact me. So the book is about a girl named Carice, and she is blind in the human realm, but she goes into the fairy realm, and it turns out that she is actually able to see once she crosses over the border. And as so often happens, she comes across a handsome stranger, and he has kind of a secret agenda, and so it's a matter of, you know, is she gonna figure it out or not? So yeah, so I had this phrase that kind of came to mind, you know, I'm running heart first, but with eyes wide open. It was a lot of kind of allusions to different moments in the book, but still hopefully something that's accessible even if you haven't read the book, which again, I recommend you checking it out if you have the chance. We had a lot of fun in the studio with this one. There was a lot of kind of electronic, like, drums and percussive sounds and things that gave it this really cool, like, beat. I always have a great time recording with Daniel. He and I have worked together on basically everything that I've done, and so we kind of understand each other and know exactly what the end goal is, and he always helps me achieve it. For me, it always is so nerve-wracking doing one of these commission songs because I always want to make sure it's like first priority that the author likes it and feels like it does her book justice. And I was really proud of how this one turned out and so happy that Casey seemed to be happy with it. So yeah, it just turned out to be like a really jamming song. My favorite lyric for that one is the bridge, where it's, I look in the mirror to see what it hides, but sometimes reflections are tricks of the light. That was just one of those lyrics I was excited about when I wrote it.
I just hated that we couldn't stand the test of time.
In June, I released Test of Time. It's a very personal song. And the idea behind Test of Time is it's about friendships and growing older and growing apart and just being sad when you reflect back on what it used to be and, like, more importantly, what you thought it was going to be when you were younger. I don't know that either of the people that I wrote this song about, I don't know if they know that I did. So if you're watching and you figured it out, like, but yeah, I wrote it about two different people that there's no, like, bad blood or ill feelings or anything. It's just people that I was friends with and I'm either not as good of friends with or not friends with anymore, and just thinking about how it, you know, it's sad. For this one, I always knew that I wanted violin and I always wanted live strings because a lot of times we'll do program strings just on the keyboard, but it never really sounds quite the same as live strings. And there's a fiddle player named Ryan Joseph, and he has worked on, he did This Goodbye, he did Come Alive, and he is just fantastic. And it's so unbelievable having him in the studio because literally he just sits and he listens to the song once and then goes and plays the most beautiful thing that you've ever heard in your life. So I knew without a doubt that I wanted him on this song, and I just wanted it to be kind of like a piano and violin duet. It's a little different, I think, than what he normally does because he actually goes on tour with Alan Jackson, so he's used to playing like a lot of country fiddle, but he's so fantastic, and I'm so grateful to have had him be part of this song. And my, I guess, favorite lyric that hit me the hardest when I was writing it was, I saw that she's gotten married, in pictures she looks really happy, a snapshot of her life without me, because that was a true moment of seeing, you know, pictures from somebody I used to be really good friends with that I always thought would be one of my bridesmaids, and I thought that I'd be one of hers. Seeing through Facebook that she had gotten married, and you know, that she looked like everything in her life was great, and being happy for her, but also being sad that I'm not part of it. So, so yeah, these are like real adult, just like crummy moments. This song shows my age, I guess. So, yeah.
I can feel you trying to crawl under my skin, but I won't let you in again.
The song I released in July is called In Again. And it's, I guess, another, like, not breakup song, but it's this character that I had in my head, and a lot of times I'll have like scenes or little vignettes that I write songs off of, just little like fictional miniature stories that I come up with. I don't know, with this one it was like there was like a cabin and, you know, this couple where it's like she agrees to meet him, but she's like, you know what, God, we've done this so many times and I'm just not doing it anymore, and trying to like explain that to him, but then at the very end just it's like you're almost not quite sure if she's gonna stick to her guns. And I knew that I wanted this song to be kind of like bouncy and happy sounding, and you know, this is another one where we tried some new stuff production wise, just like with guitar and rhythm and stuff, and it was a lot of fun to play, and it was a lot of fun to craft in the studio. It was just, I don't know, it was a real bop. We especially had fun with this part that in the chorus, it's like, I see you and I foolishly believe it will be like it was before. And the drums do this thing where it's like, da-da-do-do-cha, da-da-do-do-cha. And that actually, I think, if I'm remembering correctly, started out as kind of a joke. But we ended up really liking it, and it was really catchy, so we ended up putting it in the final song. But I think that's my favorite part of it, is the drums, you know, for da-da-do-do-cha, da-da-do-do-cha. My favorite lyric from this one is Two Strangers with a History, because I feel like that just perfectly defines what it's like to like still be friends or, you know, exes with somebody that you get to the point in your life where the only thing you have in common is your past. Present day, like you realize you don't really have anything to talk about except reminisce about the past. So I don't know, I liked that line because it just feels very true.
Who can take my wild heart, wild heart?
Oh, August. August was a book-based song called Wild Heart, and it is based on The Dark Artifices by Cassandra Clare. And this song had been in the making for, I'm not even kidding, like 2.5 years. I remember I had started this song before I went to BookCon 2016, because I met Cassie for the first time, and I remember telling her, like, I have this song that I've started and it's about Mark and I think it's gonna be really great. Part of it was that I didn't quite know where Mark's character was going after the first book, so I really did want to wait till the second book to kind of see what was gonna happen with Mark. But mostly I'll have songs sometimes where, you know, I've got like a part of it written and I know that it's gonna be special, but it's just not there yet. And it takes a while for it to come together. This was definitely one of those songs, because I had this idea for the rhythm with the piano, like dun 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 dun. And side note, this is how, when I go into the studio, like so much of it starts is, like I've joked about making a whole album of just nothing but mouth noises, because it's like, what if the part's like dun 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 dun. I mean, it's really funny. But I knew that I had this kind of like cool rhythm that I wanted the song to fit into. And I think I had like the first verse and chorus, but it changed a couple of times. Like the first way I had it didn't really quite work, so it like evolved a little bit, and I ended up being so happy with how it turned out. I was very proud of the final product. And this is another one that I wanted to do a lyric music video kind of mashup. I knew that this song was green. I knew it was the color green, and I wanted it to be very earthy, because if you know from the books, Mark half fae. So I wanted it set in the woods. So I was trying to figure out like where I could find some woods that I could borrow for an afternoon. And fortunately, one of my coworkers was nice enough to let me film on her property. We just basically like traipsed around in the woods for a day, and I filmed this one with Brandon Vestal as well. So this is a lesson that I learned the hard way on this shoot, which was I've had the same person, Madison Hardy-Dennis, that has done my hair and makeup for the last kind of couple things that I've done, and she's fantastic. She does a lot of pageant stuff, so she really knows how to do hair and makeup in a way that it's going to stay. And she also happens to be the wife of my producer, which is great. So the thing that I had not figured out yet, which I should have known by now, was that it's not a good idea to have your contacts in while you're getting makeup done, because inevitably stuff is just gonna get into them and it's gonna be a disaster. I forgot about that fact and wore my contacts and ended up having just like powder and stuff that had gotten on them through no fault of hers. It's completely mine. I don't even know how it happened because I closed my eyes when she said to close my eyes. There's just stuff flying around everywhere, and so I had like this like coat of foundation and powder on my contacts. I'm like, what am I going to do? I was running late already to meet Brandon, and I had to call my husband and get him to meet me with my glasses because I just could not stand to have my contacts in anymore. That was a great way to start. And then we got there, and it was just so unbelievably hot. So it was like the second I got outside, I mean, I'm like sweating, and it's so amazing. And it's just a testament to how great Madison is at what she does that you really can't tell, I don't think, from the video, like how drenched and disgusting I was. And I figured out, because what I was going to do, because I didn't have my contacts in, and I'm not super blind, but you know, it's more comfortable to be able to see. But I realized when I would put my glasses on in between when we were doing takes, that it was like I was sweating so much, like it was melting off all of the makeup where my glasses were sitting. So I just had to do the entire thing with no contacts or glasses, just everything like kind of blurry, and you know, trusting Brandon to be like, okay, like just let me know where I need to go and what I need to do now. I also, I don't spend a lot of time in nature, and there's one, the very beginning shot is I'm lying down on the ground and I kind of like wake up and look around. I think it was the next day or 2 days later, I had so many chigger bites. I thought that I'd be okay because I had like Spanx and a long dress and I was at bug spray. Like I thought I was good to go, but I was covered from my knees, like all the way up, all across my butt, like all the way up to, you know, right about here. Just completely covered in chigger bites. It was so miserable. So I actually do suffer for my art. My favorite lyric from Wild Heart is probably, you reached into the depths and you saved me, unlocked the binds and chains that had weighed me down. Because I think the thing that I liked about this song is that it's from Mark's perspective, but it's about Christina, and it's about Kieran, and it's about Julian. All three of them have been very impactful and influential on him. So there's like a piece of the lyrics that's for each of them. There are a couple lyrics that kind of all of them apply to. I like that lyric because it applies to kind of everybody in Mark's life.
I want you to be happy, just not quite as happy as you could have been if you had stayed with me.
In a complete contrast to August, September was when I released Happy. And I've put out several comedy songs before. I think the first original song that I ever even put on the internet was Girl Like Me, which is a complete like tongue-in-cheek song. It's ridiculous, but it's fun. So if you haven't listened to it, you should. And then I did a lot of kind of comedy stuff when I did my 90-second song series, because most of that was completely ridiculous. And I really like writing funny stuff. My whole philosophy is like, as long as I find it entertaining, like it's great if other people do, but that's kind of the cherry on top. Like I'm just aiming to keep myself entertained. But with Happy, I was talking to a friend who had recently broken up with somebody. She was doing like the thing of like, we both wish each other the best. And I just had a moment where I was like, bullshit. Like, he sucks. What are you talking about? And I was like, I want to frame a song around this thing that people do where you're trying to be like the bigger person and you're trying to be mature when you have a breakup and say, you know, all of the things of like, you know, I want him to be happy and blah, blah, blah. It's just like, I don't want him to be happy. I want him to be miserable. So that was kind of where the song Happy was born from. It was a lot of fun to write. And it was fun because I remember I was home visiting my family for a weekend, and I sat down and played it for them to get like some feedback and advice, and they enjoyed it. And so it was fun because they don't often get to hear things before I put it out. So it was a lot of fun to be able to actually play it for them live and kind of see what they thought about it. But yeah, just an utterly, utterly ridiculous song. And my favorite line from this one is, I hope that you're successful. Like maybe not your dream job, but a really solid second choice with a smaller salary, because it's just so petty. And it can be kind of fun to be that petty.
I scare myself with the way that I need you.
In October, I put out I Scare Myself, which was my fourth book-based song of this year, based on the Shatter Me series by Tahira Mafi. I think the first part of this song that I wrote was the first line, which is also probably my favorite. They say I'm crazy, but the whole world has gone mad. Just because I loved like that startling of a start to a song, they say I'm crazy. The way things kind of fell at the end of the year, I had kind of the last 4 songs that I wanted to release, but I was trying to figure out what order. And it just made sense to do I Scare Myself for Halloween. And the concept behind this song is I just wanted it to feel right at the edge of insanity. Because we start the books and she's in an insane asylum. You kind of realize how she's gotten to that point, which is really sad because if you've read the series, this isn't really a spoiler. She's gone her entire life not ever being able to touch someone without causing them physical pain that in the past has led to someone dying. She finally meets this person that can actually touch her without consequences. And, you know, I was just thinking about like putting myself in that position of how that would feel if you've gone your entire life with no human contact and all of a sudden like you have that available to you, and how you would just feel so hungry for it and so crazed for it and obsessed about it. So I wanted to kind of do a song from that perspective of just the like, just so desperate for someone to touch her and to love her. I worked with Brandon again for the 3rd time. This one, I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to have it look like a still picture, and then at the very end for the twist to be that like it wasn't, and so to move. So that concept made it pretty easy. Like we actually were able to go and like a little bit trespassed into some place to film it. It was really short because all it was is like me sitting there and then at the very end like moving. The vision that I had was I knew I wanted to be in like what you could tell was a white dress, but have it be like very tattered and, you know, torn. And it was, first of all, very hard to find a white dress that wasn't see-through or super short, but I fortunately was able to stumble on the one that I got. So it was a very odd feeling, like purchasing this like beautiful, pristine new white dress and just trashing it. But it was honestly, I watched some YouTube tutorials on how to do like a distressed like zombie type look, and literally took it out in my backyard and like got a lot of dirt on it, but that wasn't really doing it for me. So I found like some temporary hair coloring, and I had some mascara that I put on and like rubbed it in, and then I took some scissors and like tattered it or whatever. So, and then I had just like crazy hair and tried to follow like a zombie makeup tutorial, and it really just kind of looked like I got punched in the face, but it didn't really matter because it was just gonna be for like a split second. But I met up with Brendan and we, you know, shot the thing. The same person that I worked with, there's this guy, Thomas O'Brien, that has done the lyric animations for me for, he did all of the like music lyric videos. So he did Please Take Me and Wild Heart and I Scare Myself. And he actually did What You Need last year, the lyric animation for that, and he's incredibly talented. So it was a really fun process to work with the two of them, of like the back and forth of Brandon took care of the video part, and then you send it to Thomas, and Thomas did the lyrics, and I think every time it's turned out amazing. But I knew that I wanted the effect to be, you know, to look like on the wall that like someone was writing it. It's just really neat when you work with people that are really good at what they do, that you can describe what you want and then they either produce something that's exactly kind of what you had in mind or even better. So everything I feel like came together so well in that video, and it's gotten a great response so far, for which I thank you. For the actual production of the song, worked with a cellist, Austin Hoke. I had never worked with him before, but Daniel had worked with him on another track and was like, I think this guy can get the creepy cello sound that you're wanting, because I knew that I wanted it to be live cello and just really like dark and creepy. He came in and he was fantastic too. And I think he had a lot of fun with it too. I was like, look, I left specific space in the song for a cello solo, so I have no preconceived notions. I just want something really like dark and intense and creepy, and he really delivered.
But I've hit a standstill, a brick wall. I won't admit it, but I just keep collecting regrets.
In November, I released Standstill. And this is a song that it's not really based on like personal experience, but I wanted to put myself into the headspace of somebody that was the one at fault in the breakup and in some of the like bad parts of the relationship. I wanted to do something from that other side, from somebody that kind of realizes that they were too stubborn to make the first move to apologize, and you know, this person got away, and then they kind of realized they weren't going to find anybody better than that person. So yeah, I mean, it was a really emotional song for me to write, which is strange because I mean, it isn't based on like me personally. And I knew that I wanted it to be just piano and vocal, but to have kind of like a little effect on the piano. And then at some point I just randomly decided that I wanted a dance video to go with this. And the best part is when I would tell basically anybody that knows me that I was going to be doing a dance video, their first reaction was just like very skeptical, until I clarified that I was not going to be doing the dancing, and then they were like, oh, that sounds really neat. Thank you. I know that I'm not a good dancer, but thank you for that confirmation. So I literally got on Instagram and started looking for like hashtags of choreographers that were in my area, and I found Kaylin. And Kaylin Manning is a fantastic choreographer and dancer, and I literally just sent her like a cold email and was like, so hey, my name's Beth. Here's kind of my music and what I do, and here's what I had in mind. Like, would you be willing to work on this project? She, very fortunately for me, said that she would like to do it. So she had worked with the two dancers, Get Fawn and Tumbe. She had worked with them on several things before, and she was like, I think, you know, these two would be perfect. And it was kind of nice for me because I'm in charge of all the decision making with almost everything when it comes to my music. So it was really nice to kind of put somebody else in the driver's seat. She had a videographer that she wanted to work with again as well. His name's Brennan. It was a lot of fun to go on the day that they filmed it. We had gotten a kind of big warehouse type space, and it was going to be a lot of like 360 videography. I thought that I was going to be able to sit and watch it, but it turned out, because of like all of the different camera angles and stuff, like it would just randomly be like me in the corner like, hey. I ended up being able to like watch part of it until a certain point where they like would do the camera facing where I was, so I had to like duck into this this little room. But they did put me in charge of like playing the music back, so I felt very vital to the process. But it was such a surreal feeling to see these professional people create something off of my song. Like, it was just so amazing, and they're so wonderful at what they do, and it is better than I could have imagined that it would be. And yeah, I love how it turned out. My favorite lyric, and I really lyrically love Standstill. That was one that I was really happy with how it turned out. But I think my favorite lyric would be, I used to think that it was so important to be right. I feel like a lot of times in relationships, there is that emphasis on who's wrong and who's right. and everybody is wrong if it leads to the demise of a relationship that you care about because you weren't willing to admit fault. So yeah, so I loved this song. I hope you guys did too.
It feels the way that love should not, because we got something good.
And then last but certainly not least, my December release, Something Good. So I have never actually written a song for my husband. My feelings towards him you can find in a lot of songs, but I've never actually explicitly written one for him. It was a song that I wrote a couple years ago called All I Know that, like, you know, in parts was about him, but I really wanted to write a song for him. I'm so used to being in these, you know, headspaces of like kind of the book world of like dark or whatever, or like angsty and stuff, and so it's really hard to write just a happy song. I came up with this kind of little simple, I think we've got something good. I really wanted it to be kind of a testament to his character and the things that I love about him. I could never really get the piano how I wanted it, so I decided, I was like, I think this would be a better song on guitar. So I went to Daniel's and gave him the chords of what I wanted and said, you know, I just really want something similar with kind of like a da, 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 and just keep it very simple. And so he hopped right on it, and we put in a little like snap clap, which actually is a lot harder than you would think to get a really solid, tight snap clap. So when you hear those noises, that's courtesy of, it was a very serious moment trying to get some like really tight snap claps. And you probably would think that it's like super romantic to show somebody a song that you wrote about them, but it's actually very uncomfortable because I wasn't actually able to like play it for him on piano since we had done it on guitar. So I hadn't told him about it, it was a surprise. And I came home after we had done kind of the rough version in the studio, and I was like, so you want to hear what I worked on today? I wrote it about you. And so we sat down and played it, and so it was, I think it probably would have been less awkward for me if I had been like playing it and singing it, but just like sitting there listening to myself sing it was a little uncomfortable. But he really liked it, and it was a really sweet moment. And yeah, I'm glad I finally wrote him a song. And I think my favorite lyric from that one is, I made a home inside your heart and now you're living in mine. Just as sweet. So I hope you enjoyed kind of hearing a little more detail about everything I've done this year. I am super excited for what's in store for next year. I'll talk a little bit more about it like when it's shaping up a little bit better, but you can definitely expect more music in 2019. Not as much, because 12 songs in 12 months was exhausting, but definitely some new music and hopefully a couple of other fun things. Thank you guys so much for everything this year. Your support is so important, and I would not be able to do this without you, and I'm just so very, very grateful for you guys. I hope everyone had a great year. I hope everyone's looking forward to 2019. Fresh start, fresh beginning, new stuff. It's exciting. So I love you guys. I'll see you later.